I didn't preheat the oven. Beginner tip, preheat the oven before you do anything else. Hi, my name is Brittany, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make pumpkin protein bars from home. We put a poll on our Instagram story for what recipe you guys wanted next, and this one had an overwhelming amount of votes, so we're just going to get right into it. I tried to keep the amount of ingredients low. It didn't really work, but the great part about this recipe is that it's really just throwing everything together, putting it in an oven, and then not worrying about it until it comes out. So this is a really great recipe for you guys to do kind of on like a Sunday evening when you're procrastinating from work or studying and you just want to bake something for the rest of the week. We're going to start by just putting our dry ingredients into this smaller bowl, and then we'll put our wet ingredients into here and then combine them. Pro tip, most of the time you'll want to combine the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. So it's always a good idea to use a bigger bowl for your wet ingredients, even though there's typically less wet ingredients in a recipe like this. So I'm just gonna start by pouring in our oat flour into the dry ingredients bowl. Oat flour is just oats ground up in a blender. It's super easy to make and it's super cheap to make as well. However, if you wanna use normal flour, that's fine. This is just a gluten-free option for those who need it. Next, we're gonna add in our regular oats that have not been ground up, and this is just to add some texture and a little bit of structure into our protein bars. I'm just gonna start putting away ingredients as we use them. Another pro tip, clean as you go. The next thing we're gonna add is our protein powder. I really like this one from Orgain. It is more than just a protein powder. It also includes superfood powders as well as a probiotic blend, which helps with digestion. I really like this powder as well because it kind of smells like cake batter. If you don't agree with that, don't hold me accountable. All right, so next we're gonna add our baking powder and our baking soda. And then we're gonna add our salt. This one is really important to mix in with the dry ingredients. One time I forgot to add salt to the dry ingredients and I just combined it when both wet and dry were together. I don't recommend that. Everything tasted bad and then there were just a few bites that were really salty. Don't do it. All right, next we're gonna add our pumpkin pie spice. You really can't have a pumpkin recipe without this, so get your fall on. And a lot, we're doing a lot of that one. All right, so that is everything for our dry ingredients. We're just gonna mix that together and make sure everything is combined so we don't have a salt incident. All right, and once everything is combined, you can just set that to the side as we make our wet ingredients. So we're gonna start with our nut butter. I typically use peanut butter, but I actually ran out of it earlier today, so we're just gonna use almond butter, and that's totally fine. A lot of you guys have nut allergies, and I hear you. What you can use instead of peanut butter or almond butter or whatever nut butter you would prefer is sunflower butter, which you can buy at pretty much most grocery stores, and it is a good alternative for nut allergies. All right, this is tedious. So that is our nut butter. Next, we're going to add our pumpkin puree, and I do mean pumpkin puree and not pumpkin pie puree. The difference is that pumpkin pie puree has sugar and other components in it that's meant more for a pumpkin pie filling, where this is just blended pumpkin. I'm just gonna use the same spoon as I did for the nut butter because really, who wants to clean more dishes than we need to? This is a can that was already open from a previous recipe that I made today, and I don't think we're gonna have enough in this one. Yeah, we're gonna need another can. Dang it. All right, here we go. Next thing I'm putting in here is the maple syrup. You can use any liquid sweetener that you would like. Agave nectar also works really well here, but I like using maple syrup just because it's kind of like more fall vibe. The last thing we're gonna add to the wet ingredients is milk. I'm just using almond milk, specifically unsweetened original almond milk, but you can use whatever dairy milk or non-dairy milk you want to use. This is just what I have on hand. All right, now that that is all combined, we're just going to slowly add in the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. You can probably pour like half of it in there, mix it around, and then pour the other half in. That way it's just kind of like easier to combine everything and it's not overwhelming. I am using the spoon when I have a spatula sitting right here. So make sure that everything is really combined. Check the bottom for any pockets of loose flour. And the final thing we're gonna put in here are our chocolate chips, because who doesn't want chocolate chips, right? Technically speaking, you can do a 1/4 cup of chocolate chips in here, but I like to just kind of eyeball it. I'm also using mini chocolate chips, which I prefer just because you get more pockets of chocolate chips, but if you like bigger chunks, then just use normal chocolate chips, whatever floats your boat. I will be using a 7x11 dish to bake these. However, you can use an 8x8, a 9x9, whatever you have on hand. And you can either use some kind of cooking spray, butter, whatever non-stick method you prefer. I will be using parchment paper just because that's how I'm feeling right now. That is the first time that's ever cut cleanly for me. Just scoop the batter onto the paper into the pan. All right, and then you just want to spread it evenly throughout the pan. Perfect. So once your batter is smoothed in the pan, you just want to put it in the oven for roughly 30 minutes. Really depends on your pan size. Just keep an eye on the batter, but we're gonna say roughly 25 to 35 minutes, depending on your pan size. All right, and while that is cooking, clean up the kitchen because you're smart and you don't want to clean up the mess later when you're eating. All right, and our bars are finished. So we just need to cut into these and they are ready to taste. They are kind of crumbly, but also that kind of helps with the texture when you eat it. So I'm not going to complain. That's so good. It's kind of like a gooey chocolate pumpkin bread, but it's full of protein. And once it cools down more, it doesn't fall apart as much. So it's much easier to pack for lunch, pack for breakfast. That's so good, I'm sorry. I made like 4 versions of this recipe and I nailed it. I think I nailed it. Humble brag, I kind of nailed it. You definitely have to try this. It's super easy, low stress, tastes amazing, is really good for you. You can get the full recipe in the link in the description, or you can just go to charge.com and look up pumpkin protein bars in the blog. If you end up making these, make sure you take a photo of it and post it on Instagram, tag Charge, and then use hashtag ChargeEats and hashtag InCharge so I can see your creation. Well, thank you for sticking around. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, all the fun YouTube things, and I will see you guys next time.